Modern Japan is an integrated, high-tech hub that draws millions of international visitors every year to its dense cities and landmarks. Yet for over 2 centuries, this nation was one of the most isolated places on Earth. The borders were sealed, foreign travel was a capital offense, and the country operated almost entirely in a vacuum. This timeline reveals a historical pendulum. Long periods of total isolation are interrupted by violent shifts toward global integration, creating a cycle that defines the nation's trajectory. The transition from a closed archipelago to a global power was driven by a series of forced openings, where the arrival of outsiders left the country with a choice between foreign domination or radical internal change. Early Japan adopted significant portions of mainland Asian culture, including agriculture and Buddhism, under a centralized imperial court. That as the emperors focused on internal court politics, their authority over the provinces slipped into the hands of noble elites and their private samurai armies. This decentralized warrior society faced its first major external test in the 13th century. The Mongol Empire launched 2 massive invasions, only to have their fleets destroyed by a powerful typhoon, the kamikaze, that saved the Japanese defenders from overwhelming numbers. While the Mongols were repelled, the cost of the defense bankrupted the military government. Without funds to pay the samurai clans, the central authority collapsed, plunging Japan into the Sengoku period, a century of constant civil war between regional warlords. In 1543, Portuguese traders arrived with European muskets and Christianity. Warlords quickly integrated these new weapons into their armies, with over 300,000 firearms circulating by the mid-16th century, which only served to intensify the internal bloodshed. The combination of foreign ideological influence and endless domestic warfare led the nation's eventual unifiers to conclude that long-term stability required a total withdrawal from the world stage. Following the unification of Japan under the Tokugawa shogunate, the government enacted the Sakoku policy in 1639. They outlawed Christianity, banned foreign travel, and restricted trade to a single small island in Nagasaki Harbor, effectively locking the country's gates. This isolation began an era of internal peace that lasted for 268 years. The population grew to 30 million, and Japanese culture matured in a protected environment, producing the unique arts and traditions that survive today. This period of cultural growth hid a significant risk. By cutting off most foreign exchange, Japan missed the technological leaps of the Industrial Revolution, leaving its military capabilities stagnant while Western powers advanced. In 1853, Commodore Matthew Perry arrived in Edo Bay with a fleet of American steam-powered warships. Armed with superior firepower, Perry demanded that Japan open its ports for trade, effectively ending the policy of isolation through the threat of military force. The shogunate's inability to match American technology led to a series of forced treaties. This perceived weakness triggered a civil war and the downfall of the military government, as the nation realized its traditional defenses were no longer viable. The Meiji Restoration returned power to the emperor, who launched a campaign to catch up with the West. Japan absorbed Western technology, built a national railway system, and established a universal education system to industrialize the country in record time. The government dismantled the traditional samurai class and replaced it with a modern standing army, trained in Western tactics and equipped with the latest firearms. To prevent being colonized themselves, Japanese leaders adopted an imperialist strategy. They began annexing territory in China and Korea, successfully defeating both the Chinese and Russian empires by 1905 to establish themselves as a major regional power. This expansionist momentum eventually spiraled into militarism and fascism. After invading Manchuria and aligning with the Axis powers, Japan launched a surprise attack on the American fleet at Pearl Harbor in 1941, initiating a massive conflict for control of the Pacific. The war concluded with the total defeat of the Japanese military and the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which caused over 100,000 deaths and led to the nation's unconditional surrender. The attempt to secure Japan's borders through aggressive military conquest had failed, resulting in the occupation of the country and the destruction of its industrial base. Post-war Japan was occupied by Allied forces and fully disarmed. Under the guidance of General Douglas MacArthur, the government was democratized, and the emperor was legally stripped of his divine status. Legally barred from maintaining a military, the nation redirected its historic societal discipline into economic development. National focus shifted from territorial conquest to commercial and technological competition. This began the economic miracle. By the 1970s, Japan had become a global leader in electronics, flooding international markets with high-quality VCRs, televisions, and semiconductors. This industrial boom extended to the automotive sector, making the nation the world's second-largest capitalist economy by 1968, a position held for decades. Modern Japan's influence reflects a historical pattern of absorbing external shocks and repurposing national discipline to thrive within new global systems. Every time the world forced Japan's doors open, the nation responded by restructuring its society to master the new reality.